Hello, welcome to the Thursday lunchtime stream on the 5th of February 2026. How's it going? I hope you're all well. Don't have any stand-up for you this week because I haven't written any. So we're going to go straight in with the news. Straight in, no kissing. It's going to be fun. There's lots of crazy stuff happening in the news. By the time this stream ends, Keir Starmer may no longer be Prime Minister of the UK. That's what we're talking about. Got some comments here already. Arcane Aardvark says, if I'm the only one here, shall we just try again on another day? No, just consider this. Consider this your own personal lap dance. And also it means you can't log off, because then it'll just be me shouting at the camera, which, to be honest, isn't that different from a normal day. So yeah, here we go. I'm gonna give you a brief rundown of what we're gonna be going through. Are dogs going to be banned from the countryside because they offend Muslims? Some people on the left, some people on Labour want that to happen. Also, is Matt Goodwin British? A Labour MP says he's not. And a Labour mayor is accused of helping her son evade justice. It's a Pakistani Muslim mayor who spoke in Urdu to her son, allegedly. This is an ongoing court case. Steve Thompson is here as well, saying bonjour. Lovely bit of French there. We're all part of one big European family here. That's why we've got leaders like Farage. Very European name. If it was British, it'd be pronounced Farage, like garage. You know? Today I'm also going to be talking about the funny side of the Epstein Files, because you've got to find some humour in international sex trafficking. And we've got the continuing fallout from the virtue signalling at the Grammys. Is Billie Eilish about to lose her house? Now, here's Paul Yoward as well. See, Arcane Aardvark, you had so little faith. You had so little faith. Well, I've already got half as many disciples as Jesus had. There's a good. We're getting on for double digits logged on here. I'm going to do a public stream next week. If you want to see real double digit, if you want to see the numbers of people logged on climbing towards as many as 12, 14, maybe even 15, I'm going to do a public one. All those YouTube subscribers can maybe log on. Have a look. See what's happening. Paul Yoward says Scarlett is insufferable. That is Scarlett Maguire, the Labour Party advisor who made the comments about the dogs being banned from the countryside. But this is part of a much bigger issue with the countryside being too white, apparently. Like and subscribe, says Paul. As Darius would say, like and subscribe. Darius Davies, I used to do a podcast with Darius Davies. He's a good friend, and he's in Australia right now with the show that we ran together called The Haters Ball now, when we did it together. It was Hate and Live, because that's a pun on the Edinburgh show Late and Live. And it was like, you know, it was the number one show, late night show in Edinburgh, like Late and Live. The actual Late and Live show was so boring, and then Hate and Live was where it was all happening. That's where all the comedians came. It was really fun. Anyway, he's doing this show. The whole concept of the show is that the audience writes down what they hate, and then the comedians have to hate on that thing. No matter what's written down in the bucket, the comedians have to say why they hate it. And so obviously there's some room for offence there. And the police raided the show in Perth in Australia. So I'm going to do an interview with Darius this week, so that'll be up on my Patreon pretty soon. It's so funny. It's so funny. They made one of the comedians get on his knees on the pavement. It's mental. Like, if you watch that film of Lenny Bruce and everybody's like, oh my God, it's crazy that comedy was so oppressed, and it's still happening. It's still happening. Okay, let's crack on with the news. Are dogs going to be banned from the countryside because they offend Muslims? Here's Labour advisor Scarlett Maguire. Let's see what she says. Oh, that's not her. I think Scarlett Maguire wishes she looks like that. Come on. Where's the right video? Come on. Show me the right video. Show me the right video. Why is it not? What on earth?
It's a good thing.
Here we go. This is it. Okay. I promise. This is the right video. Shall I just start again with this segment? Let's just start. Actually, let's go to the comments. Then I'll start with this segment. Steve Thompson says, my old mate is a policeman there. Any of them named Alan Faye Dundee? there are a lot of police officers from Britain who go to Australia. The weird thing is, I know a guy, we called him Donuts. So he was a sergeant in Westminster. We called him Donuts because his name was Duncan. So, you know, Duncan Donuts. He was accused of some sort of racism thing because of some language he used with a hot dog vendor or whatever. And he moved to Australia. The whole concept of police moving from the UK to Australia was like, if the UK is too politically correct for you, you can go to Australia. And now you've got police in Australia that are ultra politically correct, won't let you do jokes, will make comedians get on their knees. I like the idea of comedians getting on their knees. What the UK comedy industry needs is a Harvey Weinstein figure, you know? There kind of is, except it's all like middle-aged women who hate comedy. And here's Non-Stick Nick saying, hello all. Well, Non-Stick Nick, you haven't missed anything. Because when I tried to play the video, it didn't work. Here we go. Are dogs going to be banned from the countryside because they offend Muslims? Here's Labour advisor Scarlett Maguire.
It's a lot about the national parks and getting people out there and making national parks for everybody. And one of the problems is dogs. And actually, this isn't just about the fact that a lot of Muslims find dogs very difficult. It is about people who do not know how to control their dogs.
Why do Muslims find dogs difficult?
Because a lot of they don't have dogs as pets. They have dogs as
But that shouldn't stop other people taking their dogs to the country, because there are some people there who don't like their dogs.
There are a lot of as we know, and
hold that thought,
there are a
guys.
lot of very badly behaved.
So we've got to ban dogs from the British countryside because they're offensive to Muslims. Can you imagine how I'd be treated if I went to a Muslim country and demanded that they ban goats or camels or whatever animals they've got there? You know what I mean? We don't want them banning goats. I mean, where would they release their pent-up urges? But Scarlett's comments about dogs come on the back of the government deciding that the countryside is too white. So they're launching a multi-million-pound strategy, and it's obviously being paid for with white people's taxes, to make the countryside less white and increase ethnic diversity in the countryside. Oh, good. The one place you could go for a bit of peace and quiet. But no, everywhere has to be like the slums of Islamabad. Everywhere has to be a night bus going through North London. Everywhere has to have litter and people listening to their phones through their speakers on public transport. I drove through North London the other day. Right, this was a Saturday night, so people were out getting their fast food and whatever. I saw two cars dump their fast food, their McDonald's wrappers or whatever, the Popeyes wrappers, out the car door. And like, obviously, that's anecdotal information. That's not, some sort of, widespread look at what's happening. But I mean, I couldn't help but notice what the ethnicities of those people were. And then when I came back to the Shires, when I came back to the countryside, the ethnic enclave in the UK that still has some white people in it, nobody was dumping the rubbish out their car doors. You know? I don't know. Maybe we should have some ethnic enclaves like that with Union Jacks and things like that. Anyway, let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. This is, I'm just going to pull up the right tab. Here we go. So this is the government's diversity drive to make Britain's countryside less white. So the British countryside will be made into a less white environment under nationwide diversity plans. Officials in rural areas, including the Chilterns and the Cotswolds, have pledged to attract more minorities under plans drawn up by the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, also known as DEFRA. The plans followed DEFRA-commissioned reports that claimed that the countryside would become irrelevant in a multicultural society, as it was a white environment principally enjoyed by the white middle class. National landscapes, previously called areas of outstanding natural beauty, and their local councils have since committed to a number of diversity targets. The Chilterns National Landscape Team has set out proposals that include community outreach schemes to attract more Muslims to the area, particularly from nearby Luton. More diverse staff will be recruited, marketing material will be produced featuring people visibly from ethnic minorities, and will be written in community languages. What on earth is a community language? Like they don't speak English, they don't like dogs? Like what? Why are you in England then? You know what I mean? I came to England, I learnt the language. You know? I don't know if you can still detect the faint patois of my homeland. But there are no community languages. There's English. If you move to England, learn to speak English. Why do English people have to pay for interpreters and for leaflets and marketing materials to go out in community languages and squiggle writing so that you can be lured to the countryside where there's actually nobody stopping you going to the countryside? It's an absolute nonsense. Community languages. Why is this always one way as well? They're trying to get Muslims or whatever to go to the countryside, to go to white areas. There's never a government drive to get white guys into grooming gangs. Why is this always one way? Let's read on. So research has been commissioned to support this work, some of which suggests that dogs should be kept under tighter control as some groups are scared of them. Oh, so some groups are scared of dogs, so that's the dog's fault. So some groups are scared of Muslims. Like, why? Why? How come, you know, if they feel scared of the Muslims, it's their fault. But if Muslims feel scared of dogs, then it's the dog's fault. Absolutely nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Malvern Hills National Landscape said in proposals, many minority people have no connection to nature in the UK because their parents and their grandparents did not feel safe enough to take them or had other survival preoccupations. Their parents and their grandparents did not feel safe enough to take them. Again, how come if I don't feel safe in a Muslim area, that's because I'm racist? But if a Muslim doesn't feel safe in my area, that's also because I'm racist, and that has to be changed. This is an absolute, like, why aren't we changing ethnic minority areas so that white people feel safe? How come it all goes one way? What's so different about the races? I want the government to explain to me what's so different about the races that they have to be treated in such different ways. If everybody's equal, if Martin Luther King was right and everybody's equal, everybody should be treated the same. So here we go. So this is Malvern Hills National Landscape talking. While most white English users, it's not a mobile phone. It's not an operating system. This is the countryside. While most white English users value the solitude and contemplative activities which the countryside affords, the tendency for ethnic minority people is to prefer social company, family, friends, schools. So why aren't they allowed to have that option? They have to duplicate what white people are doing? Like, if that's what they want, let them do it. It's a free country. Nobody's stopping you. Also, like, it's a nonsense. Like, the data they look at, like the number of, like, if you look at, like, rambling clubs, for example, like, the number of ethnic minority people that form them is like 8 to 10%. So there's a pretty representative chunk, whereas across the country it's like 15% or whatever. So it's not like they're shut out. It's not like there's any barriers. It's just like some people don't want to do it. So the Malvern Hills National Landscape continues. The area will aim to develop strategies to reach people or communities with protected characteristics, such as people without English as a first language. Again, if you don't have English as a first language, you better get it as a second language pretty quickly. You know what I mean? This is ridiculous. Like, imagine, I would not dream of moving to somewhere like America or Australia without learning the language. Now, luckily, wherever I move to, I don't need to learn any language because I speak the best language. Number one. Why would you not want to learn the number one language, the best language in the world? The objectively, the language of Shakespeare, the language of the Jesus and Mary chain, the language of Robbie Burns. All right, it was kind of a little bit different for Robbie Burns. Some of it is hard to understand if you're not Scottish, but it's the best language in the world. It's the lingua franca. Is that the right word? That makes it sound French. It's all nonsense. Nidderdale, wherever that is, Nidderdale National Landscape in North Yorkshire, it's in North Yorkshire, warns that ethnic minority counties may face barriers to access and have concerns about how they will be received when visiting an unfamiliar place. The area has stated in its plan that it will develop more inclusive information to reflect more diverse cultural interpretation of the countryside. This is an absolute nonsense. I mean, guy, asset to society. We went for a walk in the countryside. I mean, it didn't go very well. We had to finish early because we were both wearing trainers and it was raining and we were slipping all over the place and we just went for coffee instead. But, you know, there you go. There was nobody. It's not like any farmers jumped out with pitchforks and were like, oh, you, yes, you, the Pict and the Muslim. What are you doing on English land? No, everybody's happy. The great thing about the countryside, people say hello to you and nobody plays music through ghetto blasters. Although, obviously, our managerial class want to change that. Cranbourne Chase National Landscape, which overlaps Dorset, Wiltshire, Hampshire and Somerset, will reach people or communities with protected characteristics. Oh, I've said that already. The management of Surrey Hills has found that some demographics are still underrepresented in our countryside, while Suffolk and Essex Coast Heaths has concerns about some sections of society that are underrepresented when looking at the composition of visitors. Dedham Vale, the Suffolk Valley that was the childhood home and inspiration to landscape painter John Constable, has pledged to identify and seek to address barriers facing underrepresented and/or diverse groups which limit equal access to the Dedham Vale National Landscape. DEFRA commissioned a report on the countryside in 2019, overseen by Julian Glover, author and former board member. The report stated, "We're all paying for national landscapes through our taxes, and yet sometimes on our visits it has felt as if national parks are an exclusive, mainly white, mainly middle-class club." Well, who do you think pays the most taxes? If you're going to bring it down to taxes, who do you think pays the most taxes? Do you think it's guys who've just got off the boat from Calais? Who do you think is the net contributor to HMRC? Is it middle-aged, middle-class white guys? And I think some of you will have just filled in your tax returns and will know what I'm talking about. Well, once you get to a certain point, you're like, Jesus, I paid that much tax? There was no point in me doing that work. I only got a couple £100 from it. I should have just stopped at this much and then sat at home, played pat a cake with my daughter, instead of going out and working, slaving away so HMRC can just go yoink. We're going to take all that, we're going to give it to impoverished minorities who need to visit a hill in Wales. Absolute nonsense. So the report goes on. Many communities in modern Britain feel that these landscapes hold no relevance for them. The countryside is seen by both black, Asian and minority groups. Well, that's not both, is it? That's like three things. Oh, the countryside is seen by both black, Asian and minority ethnic groups and white people as very much a white environment. If that is true today, then the divide is only going to widen as society changes. Our countryside will end up being irrelevant to the country that actually exists. So they've got a plan to make Britain into a multicultural utopia. They're kind of saying the quiet part out loud. I've got a video coming out about Great Replacement and how a European politician has admitted that it's happening and it's good. But this is, they're stating that they're going to remake Britain as a multicultural country. It's going to be multicultural, whether you voted for that or not. I can't remember ever voting for it. I can't ever remember voting for the party that is going to commit indigenous genocide and remake the UK as some sort of multicultural paradise like the Balkans, like Syria, like Lebanon, where, oh, multiculturalism worked so well. One of the report's key proposals to the government was new long-term programmes to increase the ethnic diversity of visitors. The Tory government at the time, oh my God, you'd think the Tories of all people might have the party of Enoch Powell might have a bit of a grip in this. The Tory government responded saying that it would expand community engagement, including with reference to increasing the ethnic and socio-economic diversity of visitors, along with other protected characteristics like disability. What, we're gonna flatten the mountains so Rosie Jones can get up there. I mean, like, there's obviously going to be a barrier to, if you're differently abled. But also the socio-economic diversity of visitors. When I was young and I was poor, I went to the countryside. Well, I lived in the countryside. But you go for a walk in the hills because it's free. You know what I mean? If you don't have £5 for the cinema, you go for a walk in the hills. Nonsense. DEFRA commissioned a second report for £108,000. Oh, that is your tax dollars at work. Titled, Improving the Ethnic Diversity of Visitors to England's Protected Landscapes, which in 2022 found that the perceptions of protected landscapes as being for white people and middle-class people could be a powerful barrier for first-generation immigrants. The research showed that ethnic minorities believe visiting landscapes and was associated with white culture, and see the English countryside as a white space to which they did not belong. One concern was that rural facilities cater to white English culture. Wait till you hear this. Namely, protected landscapes were closely associated with traditional pubs which have limited food options and cater to people who have a drinking culture. Accordingly, Muslims from the Pakistani and Bangladeshi group said this contributed to a feeling of being unwelcome. Oh my God. Like, I don't remember the people ever saying, like, oh, please, I'll come here. I'll come here, please. And, oh, now that you're here, now that our pubs offend you, oh, don't worry, we're going to bulldoze them. We're going to replace them with mosques. Like, mosques don't cater for Christians. Curry houses don't cater for people who want spaghetti. Like, why has Britain got to contort itself, destroy its culture, to accommodate people who I'm not even sure are asking for this? I don't remember hearing the clamouring from the Muslim community for this. This is white people in government. Maybe not white, but you know, this is people in government. This is our elite class, our managerial class, trying to force some weird form of communism upon us, where pubs have to be bulldozed because, oh, you know what might happen in a pub? Working class men might get together. Middle class men might get together and start talking about how they don't like the government, how they don't like the direction of travel, and before you know it, they're voting for Brexit. Before you know it, they're voting for Nigel Farage. Or Nigel Farage. Let's anglify his name. Nigel Farage. Live from the garage. White English culture. Oh, heaven forbid that white English culture should be allowed in England. Disgusting. This report has been cited in national landscapes management plans across the country, including those governing the Cotswolds, which will review its provision to reach the widest possible demographic. In addition to dealing with ethnic disparities in those visiting beautiful landscapes, management plans will also seek to improve disabled access, often by creating fully accessible paths, and to give young people an interest in the great outdoors. The government set out its own ambitions for access to the countryside in 2025. A DEFRA spokesman said at the time, "We will work with government, public bodies, businesses, civil society and communities to support people engaging with nature in their own ways and encourage them to do this safely and appropriately through continued promotion of the Countryside Code. We want to equip communities with the resources, knowledge and skills so they can respond to societal and environmental issues in their neighbourhoods." You just go for a walk in the countryside. And also, you know, in Britain, in England, there's a culture of, we understand, we've got stewardship of the land because we understand our ancestors tilled that land, protected it, fought the Vikings, maybe got pumped by the Vikings. You know, maybe there's a bit of Viking blood in us, but, you know, we looked after the land. We're custodians of the land. And now that's our duty as the people who now live on the land. And I'm not sure that people who come from a completely different country, completely different culture, particularly when they don't look after their own culture, they don't look after their own country. You go to Egypt, you go to, well, I haven't been to Pakistan and Afghanistan, but I've seen videos, just the third world, Haiti, just the rivers are like open sewers, just streams of rubbish. Whereas that wouldn't happen in the UK because, you know, well, up until a couple of decades ago, we didn't have cultures like that coming to the UK. We looked after the countryside. Well, let's look at what some campaigners are saying. This is Ken Hines. Let's have a look at him. What's he saying? Oh, that's not him. Why is he playing random? Wherever I click, it's random videos.
Good.
What the hell?
Really
Maybe I don't have the Ken Hines one. Oh my God. This is just playing every video that I'm about to play. Right, is this the Ken Hines? Yeah, here he is.
Do we need to diversify the countryside?
I think absolutely. It's been white for far too long, and the reason I'm not saying it, I'm saying it from the perspective that we have police officers that come from those particular areas, and when they come into built-up areas like London and seeing how diverse it is, they really can't hack it. I feel by having people of various colours in the countryside would lessen the fearfulness that they have around immigration, and
Oh,
it could
come
only
on.
be better for the country.
Come on, Kenny. So you're saying that police officers come in there and they go, oh, my God, loads of people of colour. And where did you get the evidence for that? Seriously, Ken, that doesn't sound right to me. And I don't think that's a good enough reason why you would sort of socially engineer an area when you're living in a country that is, well, 80-something% white. So what's the surprise that the countryside is full of more white people?
Yes, well, as I said, I'm also a community facilitator at the Hendon Police Academy. So I see these youngsters come in from outer London, and I see the prejudice or that they bring with them because they haven't seen people or been around people like me in their life, right? So when you've got schools and everything else being all whiteified, it means that area become exclusively just for them. And people are less likely to want to go to those areas. I'm just giving you my perspective. It doesn't have to fall into others, but what I do see is that we can benefit from having people from a variety of cultures living amongst us.
Yes, no, I think, absolutely we can all benefit from that. But this is a free country, Ken. People are free to come and go. Black or Asian or whatever ethnicity you choose who live in one part of the country can choose to go and live in another part of the country.
Yeah, there's nothing to stop them.
Yes, is right. But then, again, what we generally tend to find that when immigrants come into any particular area, they generally create clusters where they live amounts, in a close proximity with each other's. I just feel that we need to be more diversified and spread further afield. So that's my take on it.
So can I ask you, so do you think, say, for example, somewhere like Birmingham, does that need to have more white people put in there because a lot of white people have moved out of Birmingham?
Yes.
So do we need to do that with Birmingham?
Absolutely. And we've got other places where predominantly migrants that needs to be, again, readdressed because there should be no-go area. People should be able to live amongst each other.
So, I mean, that's interesting. Why has there got to be this forced social engineering? He even admits himself that, migrants want to live in clusters in their own communities. And white people are people too. We're just like migrants. Maybe some white people want to live amongst, people who are culturally similar to them. And they can trust, they know that it's going to be the same kind of thing. There's not going to be loud music. There's not going to be gabbling into mobile phones that are on loudspeaker. I mean, that's the main thing. That's the main impact I've noticed. Taking public transport. But why? He wants Birmingham to be made more diverse and white people sort of socially engineered into Birmingham to make it less of an ethnic enclave. But people don't necessarily want to. Even my mate, he's not white, he's a second-generation migrant, lives in Birmingham. He wants to leave Birmingham because they're opening all these HMOs in his area and filling them with illegal migrants. And so he's worried about his kids. And he's worried about his property price and his, he's a good guy. He works for a living. He's worried about what it's gonna do for him. And I hope people are starting to realize that none of this is about reducing racism. If authorities wanted to increase social cohesion, the best way to do it wouldn't be to give ethnic people special status and special treatment and look the other way when they commit crimes. Instead, come down hard on them. Come down harder on them when they commit crimes, because then native Brits will feel reassured that things are in hand and nobody's getting away with anything horrific. You know what I mean? Why is it, like, if you want Brits to be less racist, you've got to treat people fairly, and you've got to let Brits see that nobody's getting special treatment. And why does everything go one direction? Let's look at some comments. Never buy a hot dog from a vendor. This is very true. When I worked in Westminster, when I did criminal intelligence, I actually worked disrupting the hot dog vendors because they're wheeling. This is in the wake of the 7/7 bombings. The hot dog vendors are wheeling these steel boxes around tourist hotspots that would be absolutely prime. If you want to synchronize bombs going off in Trafalgar Square and all these other places where people gather all through the nightlife, that would be something they could do. And it's ethnic minorities that run these gangs selling the hot dogs. One of them had links to terrorism, although it was linked to the PKK. So it raised money for the PKK, and they're not a kind of anti-UK terror group. Despite the amount of times we've abandoned them, promised them one thing and then not followed through. But yeah, so I ran an operation to take down these hot dog vendor gangs. When what we really should have done is decriminalised it, handed out proper licenses for selling. But no, we couldn't do that. We had to try and disrupt the illegal selling of hot dogs. You might think it's a small thing, but like I say, these steel boxes in the middle of tourist hotspots, absolutely strategic risk for some sort of terror attack. Anyway, we had surveillance at the lockups that they used, and one of the intelligence reports that came through said the two guys turned up to the lockup and they wanked each other. They wanked each other off. They wanked each other off, and the intelligence report finished saying there are no hand washing facilities at this lockup. So yeah, they wanked each other off, then went out selling hot dogs. So that's what you're eating. That's the special sauce you're getting. That is the special sauce you're getting. Well, I said, man, we should just print out that intelligence report and just frame it and stick it on the back door of every pub toilet, every nightclub toilet in Westminster. Nobody's going to buy a hot dog from one of these stalls again. But no, good ideas are illegal. Who else is saying stuff? And yeah, Steve Thompson says, has it not already started with the super mosque in the Lake District? Yes, they're building a huge mosque with facilities for thousands of people in the Lake District. And that's not a big Muslim area, but there's obviously plans in the future. The government has plans for the future to make that a Muslim area where thousands and thousands of Muslims can go to the mosque 5 times a day or however many times a day they've got to go. So that's a glimpse into Britain's future. If you thought, not living in a city might allow you to live amongst your own people, which isn't ever seen as a crime when it's an ethnic minority who wants to do that, but for some reason, if it's a British person who wants to live amongst their own people, oh, what a horrible, hateful bigot. Oh my God, ban this sick filth. What else are people saying? Vape bastards are a hazard to me on night bus as I'm allergic to them. Oh, you're allergic to vapes? Man, that's terrible. Oxford night bus, I had to move 3 times. Blimey. Taxation is slavery. Fitting disabled lifts to every hill. Is it me, or are they talking utter shite? Yeah, it's not just you. And Paul says, a few originated from shitholes might be lost as sudden mists and fret falls. Has Ken ever learned to swim? Very cryptic. Very Twin Peaks. Very Twin Peaks there. Okay. Moving on. Replacement theory is real. Now, I've seen the impact of mass immigration living in London. So many Somalians have arrived in the last couple of decades that parts of London just don't feel like Bangladesh anymore. But the Great Replacement is a conspiracy theory that says that white European populations, such as Britons, are being intentionally replaced with millions of people from the third world, particularly Muslims. So this conspiracy theory probably started when somebody looked out the window and thought, blimey, where did all these people come from? When did this super mosque get built in the Lake District? What's going on? Why is the countryside becoming less white? Anyway, it's based on what people can obviously see with their own eyes. It's obviously happening. A few decades ago, London was almost entirely white, and now white Brits are a minority in London. But talking about this sudden demographic change that's being engineered by our politicians is condemned as far right and a conspiracy theory. It's just a lie made up by bigots. But now a European politician has admitted that it's true. And not only is it true, it's a good thing. Take a look at this.
A las personas migrantes y racializadas, que por favor no nos dejen solas con tanto facha. Y claro que sí queremos que voten, claro que sí. Hemos conseguido papeles, regularización ya. Y ahora vamos a por la nacionalidad o a cambiar la ley para que puedan votar, por supuesto. Ojalá, teoría del reemplazo, ojalá podamos barrer de fachas y de racistas este país con gente migrante, con gente trabajadora. Claro que yo quiero que haya reemplazo, reemplazo de fachas, reemplazo de racistas, reemplazo de vividores y que lo podamos hacer con la gente trabajadora de este país, tenga el color de la piel que tenga, sea china, negra, marrona, con todas compañeras, las gentes.
Wow, that's insane. That's insane. I'm just going to go through that again and read it out. Just read the subtitles out because I think that is insane. So this is Irene Montero, who's a member of the European Parliament and a former Minister for Equality in Spain. So this isn't some, random fringe radical. This is, somebody right at the heart of the establishment in the European Parliament and in Spain. And let's have a look. This comes in the wake of Spain. Spain's recently announced that it will give amnesty to 500,000 illegal migrants that have entered it. Let's look at what she says. I want to ask you, migrants and racialized people, please don't leave us alone with so many right-wingers. And of course, we do want them to vote. Of course, we have achieved papers, regularization already. And of course, we're going for the nationality or to change the law so that they can vote. So she's admitting that she wants them here. She wants them to be able to vote. Of course, I hope replacement theory, hopefully we can sweep right-wingers and racists of this country with migrant people. With hardworking people, of course, I want there to be a replacement. Replacement of right-wingers, replacement of racists, replacement of scroungers. And that we can do it with the working people of this country. Whatever skin colour you have, whether it's black, Chinese, brownoid? Brownoid? What on earth? That's an interesting subtitle. All comrades, the working people of this country. So yeah, she's just saying the quiet part out loud. Absolutely saying the quiet part out loud. So like I said, Spain has recently announced that it will give amnesty to 500,000 illegal migrants that have entered it. And a lot of Spain's migrants are from Latin America, so they're more culturally compatible than, say the ones you get in the UK, for example. But also a lot come from Africa and the Middle East because there's a land border crossing in Ceuta in Morocco. Let's have a look at this. This is migrants in Morocco streaming in. Oh, this video is apparently outside a sort of naturalization office in Spain where they're all queuing up to get their papers now that Spain is going to give citizenship to all the migrants. And this is creating, when you tell illegal migrants, oh, we're going to give you all naturalization, you're all going to become Spanish citizens. This means there's a huge carrot for people to try and leave whatever crap hole country they're in and try and get into Spain. Because you know that once you're there, you're going to become a Spanish citizen. Then you can travel anywhere in Europe under the EU's, free movement laws. And yeah, look at this. Look at these guys that have arrived. Do these look like the best? Do these, no, for a start, where's the children? Where's the women? Do you want these guys in your garden? These fighting age men from violent, medieval, misogynist cultures? Man. All I can say is they're not being brought here for our good. They're being brought here because they're helping with the communist agenda, which that woman openly admitted is happening. She openly said, we want to give them the vote to disenfranchise the indigenous people of Spain, to disenfranchise what she describes as the right-wingers, the racists, who for some reason she describes as scroungers. I don't know, having recently filed my taxes, I don't feel like a scrounger, I'm definitely giving a bit more than I'm taking, and I'm pretty sure you are as well. Absolutely insane. Look at the big queues of people coming to get in. Here they come. This is Ceuta in Morocco. So this is where they've got a land border. There's a Spanish territory. And, you know, if you can get over the fence, then you're in Spain. And then all of a sudden you're a Spanish citizen. Absolutely bonkers. But this is what they want. She's, you know, at least she's done us the good grace of admitting the quiet part out loud. That it's just being done to disenfranchise native voters. And it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. There's that cycle with conspiracy theories where they say, no, this is a lie, and this is a racist conspiracy theory. And then the wheel comes round and all of a sudden it's happening and it's good. It's good that it's happening. As soon as it's good that it's happening, as soon as they can make up a reason that it's good that it's happening, they can say it's happening. Absolutely bonkers. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on and talk about Matt Goodwin. Because Matt Goodwin isn't British, according to an Indian man. What makes someone British? I mean, this is a debate that's raging at the moment. Some people say it's about having British values, so that anyone around the world can be British as long as they have the values, which seem to change. They've certainly changed quite a lot since the time of the British Empire. Now it's about tolerance and diversity and things like that. I don't know. Are those the British values? I don't remember getting to have a say in those values. Like tolerance, it really depends what you're tolerating. If tolerance is a good thing. If you're tolerating grooming gangs, I'd say that tolerance is a bad thing. Tolerance is capitulation to being conquered, to, you know, a foreign army. And some people say that being British isn't to do with values. It's got something to do with having ancestors in Britain. You know how pretty much every other, you know, indigenous race is treated. Like you wouldn't say to the Navajo, the descendants of the Navajo tribe, be like, oh, being Navajo, oh, it's just about Navajo values. You know what I mean? Riding around on a horse with no saddle, having a tomahawk. You know, these are the Navajo values. Have you have you scalped anyone? If you have, you've got Navajo values, and you're Navajo. No, it's about your ancestral line, your lineage. But this Labour MP, Dr. Jeevan Sandhur, classic British name, says that Matt Goodwin, who's a GB News presenter and Reform candidate, and Tommy Robinson aren't British. Let's have a look at his reasons why. Sorry, I'm just going to turn this up.
Migrant communities came from Goodwin he's not very British. The same actually goes to Tommy Robinson, who's just endorsed him. Matt thinks you can't really be British unless you're one, white, and two, you have the right great-grandparents. Now, Goodwin's definition means that Winston Churchill isn't really British, and I don't think Churchill would like that very much. But it's about a lot more than that. Goodwin doesn't get our British values, our history, our culture. Britain is and has always been made up of different communities that come together. Dozens of different accents. You say Bath in London and Bath up in Loughborough. When different migrant communities came from across the Irish Sea, from India, from across the world, in fact, what was a former empire, those different communities came together to forge one British nation. We can all cheer on the football team, even if we don't look exactly the same. But Goodwin doesn't get that, and he doesn't understand our historic values either, of standing together, of treating each other well, of not giving up. All of that was forged from our collective sacrifice during the war, when people from across what was then the British Empire, people who looked really quite different, came together to fight fascism, not join the other side. But Goodwin doesn't get that. And he doesn't get our culture either. When we take the piss out of each other down the pub, a quiet cup of tea, queuing politely, watching Strictly, all of that, our culture evolves and changes through time. But Matt doesn't get any of this. He thinks Britishness is something that's coded into our genes. Maybe that's why Tommy Robinson's endorsed him. But they're both wrong. They're wrong about this country, and they're just not very British.
Right, well, for a start, I don't think Tommy Robinson or Matt Goodwin have ever said that. Have ever said any of those things. This is a nonsense. Like, Tommy Robinson isn't an ethno-nationalist. Matt Goodwin isn't an ethno-nationalist. Look at his party. Look at the Reform Party. Look how many brown faces, how many people who can trace their ancestry back outside the UK are in Reform. There's Layla Cunningham, there's Suella Braverman, There's the other guys. I can't remember their names. Who's the guy? I'm not even gonna try. Sajid Navid, Navid Sajid. I'll clip that bit out. What's his name? He was oh man. Oh, see, this is why. It would just be easier if he was called Bob Smith. But Reform isn't an ethno-nationalist party. That's a straw man argument. And you know, to say that Matt Goodwin isn't British, that's a nonsense. Like this guy, what's this guy called? Jivun Sandhur. Man, again, it'd be easier if he was called Paul Cox or something. But, you know, if I said that he wasn't British, I'd get a knock on the door from the police. But he's allowed to say that clearly British people aren't British. Only wrong answers are allowed in the UK right now. Only clearly nonsensical things are allowed to be said out loud. And he talks about the difference in accent, like there's dialects. Like if you go up the road, people say Bath instead of Barth. Like that's just, that doesn't mean that we don't have some sort of shared culture underneath that. Oh, they're a completely foreign enclave. Those people up there who say Bath instead of Barth, who say Farage instead of Farage. No, that's just dialect. Even Scottish people have a deep shared cultural background with English people, Welsh people, Irish people. It's a nonsense to say that it's a completely different, oh, they're as alien in Scotland as they are in Afghanistan, where they have the honour system. And, you know, the if a girl gets raped, then the rapist's sister is raped by the brother of the raped girl. Like, that's completely antithetical. We've got Christian values in this country. We've got British values, genuine British values, not some sort of chart that was formed, you know, a year ago by the Tory party. Actual British values. And that's what unites us. And this whole idea that, you know, Britain was forged in World War II, where different ethnic groups came together to fight fascism. Yes, different groups did come together from across the empire. I absolutely recognise the commitment and what ethnic groups did, what people from India did, what Sikhs did. Like Sikhs, Tommy Robbins has got a lot of Sikh mates. My uncle's Hindu. Like people, we've got people from around the empire that contributed to Britain. Yes, I recognise that. But this idea that Britain was forged just 80 years ago, however long ago it was, in World War II. No, Britain goes back millennia. There's Boudica. There's William Wallace. There's people before that. Probably people I don't know about because they haven't made a film about. Like, Britain goes back much, much further. And this idea that, oh, but we've always been a multicultural place because, a few thousand Huguenots came over. Oh, we've always been a multicultural place because some Vikings came over. It's like, yeah, well, remember what the Vikings did? I mean, it's not really making the best claim for multiculturalism if you look at what the Vikings actually did. No, we've always been a predominantly homogenous country over the last, over the last thousands of years, up until relatively recently, when all of a sudden there's this accelerating race for change. And to be honest, if Dr. Jivun Sandhur doesn't like the fascists of World War II, he should be pushing to not recreate a situation that's going to give rise to fascism. Because at the moment, people like Reform, people like Tommy Robinson, who absolutely are not fascist, are probably the safest outlet for the current wave of understandable anti-immigration sentiment. Like having this pace of incredibly rapid change, this absolute top-down drive to remake Britain as a multicultural society, like Lebanon, like Syria, that's going to lead to conflict, like it did in Lebanon, like it did in Syria, like it did in the Balkans. Like multiculturalism has been tried, it hasn't worked. Apart from in places like America, where you're actually uniting different cultures under America first. which we don't do in Britain. We absolutely stifle and crush any nativist sentiment. We're creating, well, not me, but the Labour Party, our managerial class, are creating a situation where fascism could absolutely spring from. We've got all the things that happened in the Weimar Republic that led to the rise of fascism, that led to people's disillusionment with the way they were being run, that led to, you know, the ethnic resentment, the racism that fueled the rise of Hitler. We've got all of that happening. The only thing we're missing is the economic collapse and the hyperinflation. And I don't think that's far away. So yeah, we need to tread carefully. So Dr. Jeevan Sanhar, he wrote an article in the New Statesman, which is, you know, far left newspaper, saying, for Matt Goodwin, Reform's candidate in the coming Gorton and Denton by-election, having great-grandparents born in the right place is what really makes you British. Goodwin believes that when people are unable to trace their lineage on these islands back more than one generation or two, they will have no deep roots in our national culture, collective memory, shared history, identity, and way of life. He warns darkly of a demographic crisis and the decline of white Britons. He has repeatedly argued that those born abroad and their children are not really British. Goodwin's views are not only wrong, they are also just not British. Well, for a start, Matt Goodwin, like I say, I don't think he's actually said that people who trace their ancestry back overseas aren't really British. He hasn't said that, but he has raised concern about basically what's being said, something that we see all the time. Sometimes second-generation migrants feel less affinity for this country than their parents do. I mean, look at this guy spitting on the St. George's Cross. Where is he?
What's really going on here, huh?
Oh, for God's sake.
What's really going on here, huh? What's really going on here, huh? Yeah, fuck this shit, man.
So that's a guy, second-generation migrant, maybe third-generation migrant, spitting on the St. George's Cross. So you tell me that that guy feels the same affinity for Britain, for the St. George's Cross, as Matt Goodwin does? Like, the black newspapers have had front pages saying that 9 out of 10 black Britons don't feel the affinity for Britain, don't feel British first. Don Butler and David Lammy, who might be the next Prime Minister, might be being signed in as Prime Minister right now. They advocate for the Caribbean and Africa to be paid money at Britain's expense. They advocate for the Caribbean first. They want reparations paid to African countries, Caribbean countries. And as for this idea that Britain has always been about different communities coming together, in World War II, 95 to 98% of the population. Like in World War II, 95 to 98% of the population had deep British ancestry. And in 2021, it was 74%. When Britain was one nation, millions volunteered to fight. And now 48%, more than half of people say they would never fight for Britain. And I think we know what the demographic split is, what the sort of imbalance is. I think you're going to see more, you know, people who can trace their ancestry back feeling an affinity for this land and feeling a willingness to fight for it. Although I would say to them, don't bother. Don't bother. You think things would be worse if China invaded? Oh my God, how could things be worse? Things would be less communist if China invaded. You would have more control over your own country. You would have more order, less crime. Not that I'm advocating for China to invade, obviously. But the reason there's so much anti-immigrant sentiment at the moment is because we see migrants getting special treatment. The crimes of migrants are ignored and native Brits are oppressed to try and stop them voicing any concern about this. So the government covers up the horrific activities of grooming gangs and keeps importing illegal migrants, importing fighting-age men from violent medieval communities and sticking them in hotels overlooking primary schools, walking distance from primary schools like in Epic. And then, you know, some... Like in Essex, some of them then use these hotels as bases to go out and sexually assault. But if anybody complains, like Lucy Connolly, they risk going to jail for years for a tweet. If native Brits saw some semblance of border control and saw the crimes of migrants being slammed down on and saw, you know, the rate of change being slowed down, then they'd feel more confident about immigration. If people saw that there was, you know, civilized immigration, I don't think anybody's got a problem with people coming here from civilized countries, from civilized cultures, like Japan, Norway, you know? I'm talking, you know, original Norwegians. Like, I don't think anybody's got a problem with European immigration. People who share our values. People have got a problem with people from radically different cultures coming here. And I think that's fair enough. And you can't say, oh, but we fought fascism in World War II. Because the people who fought the fascists, like, they weren't fighting to be replaced in their own homeland. Nobody was storming the Normandy beaches being like, oh, God, yeah, I pray one day my descendants will be replaced in their homeland and have to pay for it. You know, absolute nonsense. And talking of the crimes of migrants, we're told that yes, there may be some bad guys amongst the uneducated hordes of men who come over on boats, but we also have a professional class of migrant that's much more refined. Well, let's have a look at that professional class. Have I got this open? Yes, I think this is it. No, maybe it's not. It's not. Tell you what, let me just open this. Sorry for the finuckery. Here we go. Let's just open this up. This will just take a moment. This will just take a moment. So, let me just shrink this to the right, to the right size so it looks good on the screen. I really need to get a producer to do this. If anybody wants to come and sit in my fetid hovel and press buttons next to me. Here we go. So yeah, let's have a look at that professional class. This is Nahid Ejaz, the former Labour mayor of Bracknell Forest, who's accused of perverting justice by delaying officers who came to arrest her son for allegedly raping a 15-year-old girl. So this is a 15-year-old girl drugged, choked, filmed being raped, filmed being choked, and his family is accused of helping cover it up by talking in Urdu when the police turned up. This is insane. So Nahid Ejaz, 61, who had recently completed her one-year term as mayor of Bracknell Forest in Berkshire, allegedly refused to let police officers into her home when they came to arrest her son, Diwan Khan, 41. There they are together, looking resplendent in the city's finery. The Labour councillor delayed officers' entry for some minutes and spoke to her son in Urdu to assist him in hiding his phone, which allegedly had a video of the sex attack on it, the court was told. There she is, looking very pleased with herself. Ed Wild, for the prosecution, told the jury, a mother's love for her son will stretch some way, and in this case, is stretched into criminality. Khan, who acted as the mayor's consort during his mother's time in office, so she gave him a job as well, is accused of giving a 15-year-old girl vodka laced with MDMA and raping her after she blacked out. This is a pattern we've seen before. What does this remind me of? I wonder if he phoned up his cousins and his uncles to come and help him. The teenager said she woke up in the backseat of his car with no clothes on and could not remember what had happened. Khan allegedly showed her a 2-minute video of him choking her and slapping her in the face. Khan allegedly messaged the girl later to say that he would show her mother the video if she said anything and that she belonged to him. During the girl's police interview, she said that Khan had told her he was the mayor's consort and that he would slit her throat if she told anyone about the attack. She said the video had made her feel sick. So Ejaz and Khan, her son, are on trial together at Winchester Crown Court. Ejaz denies perverting the course of justice and Khan denies rape. He has admitted perverting the course of justice by hiding a mobile phone from the police. Ejaz, who said she was proud to be the borough's first Pakistani Muslim mayor, served a 1-year term from May 2023 until May 2024. She resigned in October 2024. So the court was told that police arrived at her house in Bracknell in the early hours of September 12th, 2024. Wild said it was Ejaz who answered the door to police. When the police came to arrest Mr. Khan, she delayed opening the door and helped him hide his mobile phone. Wild said that mobile phone was likely to have material that would be evidence in Mr. Khan's case. Khan gave a phone to the police, but it was not the one with the video, Wild said. He added, we say that they were speaking in Urdu, so the police wouldn't know what they were talking about. And there she is, there, Ejaz. The court was told with some yamas, or lamas, if you prefer the anglicised pronunciation. The court was told that the alleged victim had arranged to meet her friend, who said she knew a man who could take them for a drive. The two girls drank from a bottle of Smirnoff vodka, to which Khan was said to have added powdered MDMA, also known as ecstasy. Kant allegedly told the two girls that he was horny and that he wanted them to touch him, but they both said no. He dropped the friend home, then drove the 15-year-old girl to his house, the court was told. She told police she had drunk about half a litre of the vodka by this point, then blacked out and did not remember what happened until she woke up naked. I mean, this is horrific. Like, this is the thing. Like, I grew up in a Britain where, you know, as a teenager, you could go down the park, drink booze, be sick, and, you know, obviously nobody thinks it's a good idea, but it's the kind of thing that teenagers do. And the great thing about Britain in the 90s, when I was doing it, was there weren't, like, weird guys hanging around waiting to take advantage. I'm not sure they'd want me anyway. I was very tall and a man or a male. And now we've got a Britain where, man, you can't trust that, you know, the people that are being forced to mix amongst you by our managerial class, who've decided that some areas are too white and need to be filled with ethnic minorities. There's a different culture there. There's evidence. You can see it in the activities of the grooming gang and the activities of the grooming gang families. And I'm not saying white people don't do stuff like this. Obviously, white people do stuff like this. But it doesn't happen at the same rate. The statistics show. This is disgusting. A 15-year-old drugged, choked, filmed, being slapped, being raped. And his family allegedly helps cover it up. Like, why are they here? And the mad thing is, this story barely made a ripple because there's such a deluge of stories like this. It's mental. I mean, just this week, a migrant was convicted but got 0 time in jail for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl. Let's have a look at this. Now, I'll just bring up this story. This is British justice. So you get 31 months for a naughty tweet, but 0 months for assaulting a 12-year-old girl. This is a migrant, 70 years old, who told a girl who's 12 to cover her head before sexually assaulting her on the way home from school. And he was spared jail. This is Chowdhury Zaman. Had forcibly held the 12-year-old girl's hand while she was walking home from school in Slough and then kissed her. He told jurors he had been encouraging the girl to cover her head and telling her how she could do so. So, you know, we know the background of Chowdhury Zaman, but we also know the background of the girl. You know, this is a girl from his own community. And the girl said her father now had to pick her up from school and she feels anxious during the school run. Zaman, who was assisted by a Punjabi interpreter in court, oh man, of course a 70-year-old migrant hasn't learnt the language. He was spared jail in part due to his age. What about the girl's age? What about the 12-year-old girl's age? The court heard the girl lost friends in her community after she came forward to make the allegation. Judge Amjad Nawaz, describing the incident, told Zaman, "CCTV shows you holding her hand. She says she did not want to. Her hand was forcibly held. You're sitting on a bench with her, and that is where she said that you kissed her on the lips." Absolutely mental. So Judge Amjad Nawaz. I mean, hey, I hate to profile somebody based on their name, but I think we know what community he's from as well. And what's interesting is the same judge previously gave no time behind bars to an imam convicted of assault. So a 69-year-old imam who led prayers at a mosque in the Dudley area was spared jail time behind bars after he carried out a sex attack on a vulnerable woman. So this guy, Habibullah, he had a number of medical problems, including heart troubles and arthritis, and he'd worked extremely hard for the Muslim community. Blimey, sounds like he still is. Absolutely mental. Absolutely mental. So, yeah. Is there any bias there in how he treated somebody from his own community? Who knows? I'd hate to speculate. Might go to jail. But that's disgusting. And it's also disgusting that the girl has been shunned by her community for speaking out against this man, against this community leader who carried out this sex attack against her. She lost friends in the community. And we've seen this before with the grooming gangs. Like the family, the friends of the grooming gangs, they side with the attacker. It's a different culture. It's a different culture. Whereas in this country, in British culture, obviously, you know, British cultural values have to be erased according to the government. But in British culture, that sort of behaviour is absolutely shunned and absolutely attacked. Anyway, let's move on to more light-hearted stuff. Let's look at some of your comments. Here we go. Denmark's clash with Islam is escalating, according to Arcane Aardvark. That's interesting. So Denmark is a small country. I think it's about 7 million people. It's Protestant, and obviously with a small country, socialism works better than in a large country where people have no affinity with each other. And Denmark, even though it's got quite a liberal left-wing government, it has quite a robust stance on asylum seekers and on immigration. They don't just bend over and offer their anus like we do in Britain. And now they're pushing back. They're starting to remigrate migrants, particularly the problematic ones, and that's how they stave off what we would call in Britain the far right. I mean, if Labour, if our left-wing parties did what people want, people wouldn't be about to replace them with a reform government, which I think is going to happen. I think it's going to happen within the next year. This Labour government isn't going to make it. Oh my God. Like Keir Starmer, I'd be amazed if Keir Starmer made it to the end of today, never mind the end of the week. He's going to go over the Epstein stuff. I'm going to talk about the Epstein stuff in a moment. But here we go. Pub chat. Labour are currently trying to make impossible with employment law. Yeah, there are employment laws that say that employers are responsible for providing a safe and non-hate crimey environment for their staff. So that means there can't be any banter in the pub because somebody might get offended, and then it's the employer's responsibility. Here we go. Pally action in Bristol got 0 jail time as well, Paul says. And that's a great point. I'm not covering it today, but man, Palestinian action, it just shows if you've got the right politics, you can get away with anything. You can get away with almost murder, like smashing a policewoman in the back with a sledgehammer. They got off with that apparently because they said the sledgehammer wasn't taken there as a weapon, which... I mean, I guess there's the what do you call it? The actus reus, and then the mens rea. So the actus reus is the actual action, like smashing the back. But the mens rea is the intent. So in that case, they didn't have the intent to use the sledgehammer as a weapon. But man, they did use it as a weapon. You think they took it there to help blow out the candles on a birthday cake? No, it's a sledgehammer. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on and look at some of the Epstein Files. I'm going to talk about this. I know, sorry, I'm going on a bit long. I'm going to talk about the Epstein Files. Then I'm going to talk about the stuff that's come out of the Grammys. The fallout from the Grammys, which is funny. So bear with me. Sorry it's dragging on. The one, I'm going to do a public one next week, and I'm going to keep that to like 45 minutes. Because those people out there, they don't have your patience for a Scottish guy shouting in a bunker. Anyway, let's look at the funniest moments. Let's look at the funniest moments from the Epstein Files, which we've got here. Here's Prince Andrew on all fours. Here he is. This is clearly in Pizza Hut in Woking, and he is attempting CPR. He's attempting to resuscitate a waitress who's choking on an olive from the salad bar. Yeah, the Pizza Hut salad bar. Ooh, never the best salad, was it? Sliced beetroot, sweet corn, and black olives. But yeah, who let themselves be photographed all the time? All of them allowed themselves to be photographed doing whatever. Here's Peter Mandelson in his tighty whities. This is one of the most disturbing things to come out of the Epstein Files. He was getting paid tens of thousands of pounds from Epstein, all these bribes in return for government secrets. And he doesn't spend any of that money on underpants. Look at those soggy wife fronts. Did he buy them at Jimmy Savile's yard sale? Has he got one pair of pants that he washes every night and dries on the radiator? That's something that Jimmy Savile did, by the way. And he's just walking around letting himself get filmed. I mean, for God's sake, spend some of that money on a nice pair of briefs, you know? on a pair of boxers, a pair of Ralph Lauren's, not these 1940s Albert Steptoe little pouch for your nuts. Absolutely disgusting. Why were these people happy to have themselves photographed in compromising positions? Absolutely mental. But that's not the funniest thing. One of the funniest things to come out of this is Bill Gates getting an STD and then passing it on to his wife, apparently, and then asking Jeffrey Epstein for antibiotics. Let's read this. This is an email, apparently from Jeffrey Epstein to Bill Gates. It says, "Dear Bill, I cannot believe that you've chosen to disregard our friendship developed over the last 6 years. I am aware that accidents happen. It is how each of us has chosen to deal with this unfortunate event that has me dismayed beyond comprehension. You have decided to discharge me from my job. Had Larry, your PR person, tell me that I engaged in morally inappropriate behaviour, asked me to be the major actor in a cover-up so that you can maintain the reputation that you have worked so hard to achieve. You have asked me to recommit to a confidentiality agreement and have categorically told me that we cannot have any direct ongoing business relationship, in total disregard for its impact on the public perception of my reputation. I will have to diligently avoid the truth, tell people that Bill will not invest with me, and craft an answer that suits your needs. But you did agree to send you a letter of recommendation should a future employer ask for one. You have told me that Melinda insists on me not communicating with you unless Larry is copied or present. Though you have consistently maintained that I could not have done a better job and that I was underpaid compared to my contribution, you then, beyond all sense of fairness and frankly decency, said that as generous compensation for keeping the Gates reputation intact, you would let me keep what we agreed I already owned, the investment pieces, and give me 2 years severance, similar to Christine Turner, another casualty. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would have said, Boris, this is not your fault. I confessed to Melinda. You didn't. It was in a moment of weakness, and I will do anything within my power to make it right for you. I have more money than anyone needs, and I assure you I will structure something so that you will not be penalised for my error. Lucky for me, I have enough money to provide you, though it will not heal the injury. It will make you secure in your future." Wait, this can't be to Bill Gates. Is this the right email? Yeah, this is the right email. Like, Bill Gates has got enough money. Is this to Bill Gates? I was told this was to Bill Gates. How can he be saying make you secure in your future? In addition, I will bend over backwards to make sure your next career is rewarding and an upswing. I appreciate the fact that this drastically alters your plans, and I am very aware of the career path you gave up to join the foundation. I'm very sorry, but as I believe time heals all wounds, this will eventually pass. In that regard, I suggest you buy the house that you so had your heart set on. In addition to 5 years of severance, we'll buy you out of the investment contract we had agreed, 30 to 40% of a $100 million partnership for $30 million in today's dollars. Terms and conditions to be agreed. That's what I would have done had I been in your shoes. That's what I did receive. However, he's talking about if the shoe was on the other foot. Man, this guy really needs to learn how to construct a sentence grammatically with punctuation and stuff. Like, learn paragraphs. They not teach paragraphs at nonce school. Anyway. What I did receive, however, was an unfriendly, strongly worded email telling me how employable I am and that I should not look to you for any significant financial help in the future. To add insult to injury, you then implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD, your request that I provide you with antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your penis. You also made it clear to me that I'm not to refer to redacted, as that is another topic that must remain between the two of us. Oh, I wonder what that is. In return for all of these requests, which I would have done without a second thought, I'm not to attend meetings with Melinda, and I should continue to provide you the same level of service and dedication that I've done so diligently until you're ready to discard me and our friendship. Oh my God. Oh my God. So Bill Gates apparently, according to these Epstein files, contracted an STD while he was partying with Jeffrey Epstein and passed it on to Melinda. And then Bill Gates asked Jeffrey Epstein for antibiotics. What just beeped? Is that my camera? Still seems to be working. Jeffrey Epstein asked for antibiotics to slip into Melinda's drink, which is mental. Imagine asking for antibiotics to secretly drug your wife with because you've given her an STD. No wonder they got divorced. Let's look at the next one. I've decided to resign my position effective immediately with BG3 and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I've not come to this decision quickly or without a great deal of thought. During the past few weeks, I've been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Bill and Melinda Gates. I have the greatest respect for my friend of 7 years and I wish them both well. And in my role as his right-hand man, I have been asked and wrongly acquiesced into participating in things that have ranged from the morally inappropriate to the ethically unsound, and I have repeatedly been asked to do things that get near and potentially over the line into the illegal. Though it was kindly suggested that I make a transition to a new position after my 6 years of servitude and that Bill would, in his words, give me 2 years severance pay, I feel it would be dishonest to myself and my future. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls, to facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments, as I am a medical doctor, but I have no prescription writing ability. Wow. Oh my goodness. And let's see. This sort of, remember when Bill Gates was doing all this health stuff? Like, he's offering $100,000 to whoever can make a next generation condom. Is that one that works after you've already got the STD pill? That's hilarious. Oh my God, and all this stuff, the malaria nets for Africa. What was that all about? Did he have malaria as well? All this healthcare stuff is vaccinating the world. His push to vaccinate the world. Man, it just suggests that he wanted everybody to get vaccinated for chlamydia or whatever. I don't know what he passed on. I don't know what he caught from the Russian hooker. All I'm saying is that, you know, if Jeffrey Epstein provides you with a Russian hooker, maybe you shouldn't raw dog it. Maybe you should put a jacket on it. I don't know, Bill. I'm not here to give you advice. You're a much more successful, much richer man than me. Oh my God. And Elon Musk is implicated, not implicated. Let's just move this to the front. Here we go. So Jeffrey Epstein sent Elon Musk an invite for the opening of the General Assembly of the United Nations, which is many interesting people coming to it. That's what he said. He said, any plans for the opening of the General Assembly has many interesting people coming to the House. But Elon Musk didn't pick up that it's a joke and replied saying, I run and lead product design and engineering for 2 complicated companies. Moreover, SpaceX is about to launch what is arguably the most advanced rocket in history. Flying to New York to see UN diplomats do nothing would be an unwise waste of time. So he didn't get that this was just a joke. And Jeffrey Epstein was saying, no, I'm just filling the place with whores and, you know, possibly other people as well. Jeffrey Epstein replied saying, do you think I am retarded? I'm just kidding. There's no one over 25 and all very cute. So after that, Elon Musk, clearly wanted to, get back and get invited. Let's just see. Let's just see. This is so funny. Because this is where Elon Musk's autism might have just saved him. So he sent an email saying, I was thinking of flying down for an epic vacation. Redacted told me you were planning a party. Girls, for the win. I cleared my calendar. What are the details? Thank you, good sir. Then Jeffrey Epstein gets this email and forwards it. Wait, I'll just move my face out the way so you can see it. Forwards it to, I think that's Ghislaine Maxwell, saying, deal with this. Thank you. And then Ghislaine messaged Elon saying, I'm so sorry, Elon, you just missed Jeffrey Epstein. He actually told me he was thinking of winding down the entire Little St. James operation. That's his, parties on the island. Bummer. If it starts up again, we'll be sure to let you know. So they pretended, oh my God, well, bring my face back. They pretended the whole party wasn't happening anymore just so that Elon wouldn't come to it, just because Elon came across as too nerdy. Elon Musk got uninvited from Jeffrey Epstein's parties for being too much of a nerd. He was originally on the list, and then because he was like, my good sir, talking like a 2005 atheist. Elon Musk's autism saved him from being implicated in sex crimes. It's kind of reassuring to see that our elites, like Elon Musk, aren't child-sacrificing, Moloch-worshipping, satanic pedophiles, but are mostly just nerds who just want to party with girls on an island. I don't think Elon Musk, there clearly wasn't any, I don't think Elon Musk knew that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in underage girls, or he didn't, he didn't think there was going to be that going on at the island. Interesting. But there's more crazy stuff from the files. One of the craziest things, I think, is that Epstein bought the used Kaaba covering as a carpet. These are emails that went between Epstein and some middleman for the Saudi government to buy the covering on the Kaaba. So the Kaaba is that thing that's in the middle of Mecca. It's the the holiest thing. It's the thing that everybody points towards when they're praying. And when you do that pilgrimage, the pilgrimage to Mecca, you walk around it. And so every year the fabric covering on it has to be replaced, and you can buy it. It's very holy. It's like having a bit of the Berlin Wall or the Turin Shroud or something like that. It's very holy. And Jeffrey Epstein bought a piece of it and then used it as a carpet. I mean, that's got to be some sort of power play. And I wonder if Muslims are angry that the Saudi government sold it to him. What else is in the Epstein files? Oh yes, so we've got this. We've got this. This is Jeffrey Epstein talking with Noam Chomsky about African Americans. Re-Caribbean, as you like the expression. You encouraged me to look at data, no holds barred. So Noam Chomsky encouraged Jeffrey Epstein to look at data relating to different levels of intelligence among ethnicities. I've seen some things through your eyes, and for that I am grateful. The test score gap amongst African Americans is well documented. 20 years of testing from many countries. James Watson had some of his private views made public, and hence his dismissal from society. He told me that after one sentence he became a C2 unperson. I don't know what that means. Making things better might require accepting some uncomfortable facts. This is replying to Noam Chomsky sending an email saying, we both really enjoyed the evening immensely, and I can't tell you how tempting the invitation is regarding C2. Have to somehow work out the schedule. There they are. There's the buddies. The hero of the left, Noam Chomsky, and Jeffrey Epstein. The hero of the left, Jeffrey Epstein, and Noam Chomsky, who's dead now. But yeah, Noam Chomsky was a hero of the left, and apparently was discussing race science with Jeffrey Epstein in a way that would get most left-wing people calling him out for racism. And yeah, you shouldn't. Don't look too closely at what James Watson says about differences by race, because the only acceptable opinion is that all races are identical, even though they're diverse. They're somehow also they're diverse, but also identical. So diversity is a strength, but also it doesn't exist. I'm not sure how it works, but these are the lines you've got to recite to not get into trouble. What else is there? Oh, Jeffrey Epstein made a joke about transgender stuff. So somebody said at least one woman can do math, and Jeffrey Epstein said transgender probably. That's pretty funny. What else? Oh, I'm not getting onto that yet. So yeah, this is I've actually been kind of reassured by the Epstein Files latest batch that our leaders are such a bunch of nerds, and also I don't think Jeffrey Epstein, despicable guy, obviously convicted pedophile, but people have said oh, it's the same as the grooming gangs, and I don't think it is. And also I've got a feeling that some of this stuff might be bobbins. Some of this stuff might be, in fact, I'm wondering, is there still time to email that email address of Jeffrey Epstein? And then I'll maybe get my email in the next tranche of Epstein Files. So I can make some stuff up. But before you say, oh, but Leo, you're so, you always talk about grooming gangs. Some people will be saying, oh, but Leo, why are you making fun of this? You wouldn't do this for the grooming gangs. But listen, I think Epstein is a sick animal, and I'm glad Hillary Clinton had him killed, or he had to go into hiding and replaced with a simulacrum. I don't think that most of these men were having sex with underage girls. If you look at Bill Gates, he just wanted to bang Russian hookers. I mean, that's immoral, but it's not on the level of the grooming gangs or on the level of Jeffrey Epstein. Even Epstein himself wasn't on the level of the grooming gangs. That level of torture and dehumanization that the grooming gangs carried out, targeting the most vulnerable girls in society who were in the care of the state and didn't have families to look after them, getting the girls hooked on drugs, repeatedly raped by groups of men and being sexually tortured with bike pumps, with bottles, being violently beaten, having the names of their owners, in inverted commas, burned into their skin, being killed, and in one case that we know of, very probably ending up in kebab meat. I mean, that's on a different level to anything that Jeffrey Epstein ever did. Now, I'm just going to finish up on this about the Grammys. Is Billie Eilish about to lose her house? There's been a crazy twist in the Grammys virtue signaling. At the Grammys this week, all the celebrities got up and condemned ICE for enforcing borders. Take a look at Billie Eilish. Take a look at Billie Eilish here. That's not her. That's not her either. This is Billie Eilish.
On stolen land.
Why the fuck is it not just playing?
On stolen land.
So you can't hear it properly because obviously, you know, why would OBS play a clip properly? But she says no one is illegal on stolen land. Oh my God. I mean, if you entered the Grammys illegally, do you think you'd be waved in and offered a seat at a table and a glass of champagne? No, you'd be forcibly ejected by burly security guards. It's a nonsense. The hypocrisy is just off the scale. Honestly, why don't the next time the Grammys is on, or whatever arts event is on, Donald Trump should bus thousands of illegal migrants in. Burly guys, just hammer down the doors of the Grammys and see how people like it there. You know what I mean? Because Billie Eilish, all these celebrities, Sabrina Carpenter, they live in gated communities. They live in very secure houses. They travel around in SUVs. They've got security guards. They're totally insulated from it. The people who pay the price are like, in Britain, you've got the working class girls in Rotherham, Rochdale, Oxford, Peterborough. They're the ones who pay the price. Well, you know, the virtue signalling elites, Emma Thompson, absolutely insulated from any of this. It's disgusting. And also, you cannot simultaneously believe that all borders are fake and should not be policed, and that land can be stolen. But there's a twist. Billie Eilish lives in a $3 million mansion. Let's just pull this up. Let's pull this up. Here's this mansion. Here's the twist. Billie Eilish lives in a $3 million mansion. And Avi Sinai is a lawyer who claims to be the leading eviction lawyer in Los Angeles County, where Billie Eilish's mansion is. And his firm has offered to evict Billie Eilish from her home following her Grammy stunt, where she railed against ICE and saying no one is illegal who lives on stolen land. So Eilish's multi-million-dollar estate in Los Angeles was once the land of the Tongva tribe. And her Grammy comments provide what Sinai says amounts to a rightful action for possession as the true owner of the property. And he says the 30-day notice is already written and ready to be served. The Tongva tribe confirmed that the singer's $3 million home does sit on its ancestral land. They say, "It is our hope that in future discussions the tribe can be explicitly referenced to ensure that the public understands that the Greater Los Angeles Basin remains Gabrielino Tongva territory," according to a tribal spokesman. Also, did anybody ask the Native Americans if they want more people to come over the border and occupy their land? Like, Native Americans voted for Trump. It's the same in Australia. A lot of Aboriginals say, stop the mass immigration. We're happy with what we've got. We don't want more people coming onto our land. But it's not about what the Aboriginals want or about what the Native Americans want. It's about trying to destroy civilization. Anyway, conservative journalist Emily Austin was in, that's not her, she's better looking than that. She was in the audience of the Grammys and I think summed up what we all really think.
I'm going to sit down. You should all be ashamed of yourself. We love America. I love our law enforcement.
of
She
power.
said, I love our law enforcement. And here's Peter Dinklage reading out a poem. Oh, it's a terrible poem.
For Renee Nicole Good, killed by ICE on January 7th, 2026. They say she is no more, that there her absence roars, blood blown like a rose. Iced wheels flinched and froze. Now bare riot of candles, dark fury of flowers, pure howling of hymns. If for us she arose, somewhere in the pitch deep of our grief, crouches our power, the howl where we begin, straining upon the edge of the crooked crater of the worst of what we've been. Change is only possible, and all the greater, when the labor and bitter anger of our neighbors is moved by the love and better angels of our nature. What they call death and void, we know is breath and voice. In the end, gorgeously endures our enormity. You could believe departed to be the dawn, when the blank night has so long stood. But our bright, fled angels will never be fully gone, when they forever are so fiercely good.
Woo! So there's Peter Dinklage. He's the sort of self-appointed head of the dwarf community. It's a small community. Interestingly, Peter Dinklage, he complained about the original Snow White. So when they were planning the remake, which bombed, when they were planning the remake, they were originally going to have like real dwarves in it. But Peter Dinklage said that was offensive to dwarves. So he denied a bunch of dwarves getting a job. He's the only one. He's the only one who gets to have a job. But he also said about the original Snow White cartoon, he said, this cartoon contains unrealistic depictions of dwarves. It's like, yeah, it's got unrealistic depictions of dwarves. Oh, thanks for that, because I thought it was a documentary. I mean, it's a cartoon from the 1930s, 1940s. Anyway, ridiculous. Ridiculous. And all these people are so insulated. So insulated. Anyway, let's look. Just before I go, let's have a look at some of your comments. These emails are surely written with the idea they will be hacked. Yeah, I mean, like, can you really trust it? Paul Yoward says, the blonde has weird, unblinking eyes. Is she?
Standing ovation for Ice out. I'm gonna sit down.
Oh, yeah, the one next to him. Oh, no, they both blinked. They both blinked. Maybe it's a different blonde. Maybe he's talking about me. Maybe they've had the plastic surgery that means you can't blink anymore. There is a plastic surgery operation. Is that I think Michael Jackson had it, blepharoplasty or something, where they did something to his eyes so he couldn't blink. So he's walking around like a lizard. Anyway, and Non-Stick Nick points out the Bristol statue pushers got no time either. Yeah, if you've got the right politics, you can get away with murder. Anyway, let's just move on, because politics is moving fast this week. Is this Labour's worst week ever? Just look at the front page of BBC News. Look at this. Look at this. So we've got Peter Mandelson, the Peter Mandelson scandal. One of the most powerful men in Labour was apparently giving state secrets, confidential government documents to a foreign financier after he'd been convicted of paedophilia. The foreign financier, not Peter Mandelson. Although I do understand that Keir Starmer did have a file on him, a Peter file. Anyway, no allegations of anything like that against Peter Mandelson. But Peter Mandelson was giving over these state secrets, this information, in return for bundles of money. And this information included stuff like insider trading, like advance notice of a €500 billion bailout. And you know, if you've got advance notice of something like that, you can make millions betting on the financial markets with that insider information. That's how Jeffrey Epstein made his money. Everybody's like, oh, how did some guy who's just a teacher manage to become a billionaire? It's like, because he worked out a way to bribe and blackmail political leaders for insider information that he could then bet on and make loads of money. The house is rigged. This is fraud. This is fraud. And I love how Peter Mandelson, in his excuses, he makes out that He's the victim of a master manipulator, as if Peter Mandelson is some naive, innocent lamb who just fell prey to this cunning sociopath. Peter Mandelson is one of the most Machiavellian, smart, calculating people in politics. And he's a former senior Labour figure and Starmer's appointee as ambassador to the United States. And he's revealed to have engaged in rampant insider trading with Epstein, including taking money from him. So that's one story that's bringing down Labour, probably the biggest one that's bringing down Labour. Look at the other stories that aren't making it to the front page. Former Labour anti-corruption minister, also appointed by Starmer, Tulip Siddiq, was sentenced to another 4 years for corruption in her native Bangladesh. She's already been convicted of corruption in Bangladesh because of her political connections and her family connections over some sort of corrupt land deal. Now there's another 4 years. And Tulip Siddiq says, oh, well, Bangladesh is a corrupt country and they have corrupt practices and this conviction is a sham. No, I believe that Bangladesh, in this case, has made absolutely the right move. And also, if Bangladesh does have a corrupt culture, why are you so insistent on bringing that culture to the UK? That's another story. Another story. Former Labour MP Dan Norris, who's already suspended for rape allegations from Labour, but still sits as an MP, was arrested again for more rape and child sex offences. And this front page doesn't even include the Pakistani Labour mayor, who's accused of covering up her son allegedly drugging and raping a child by her speaking to her son in Urdu when the police came, telling him to hide his phone. And the other two stories are about Labour rolling back Brexit and doctors going on strike. They seem almost positive in comparison. So we'll see what's happening. Man, this is a bad week for Labour, and it's not like they've had a lot of good weeks. So we'll see. I think we could have a reformed government by the end of next week. We'll see what's happening. We'll see what's happening. Because you know, once the dominoes start tumbling, we saw this when the Tories were in power. Like as soon as one leader, as Boris, comes down, then they replace him with Liz Truss. Then replace Liz Truss with Rishi Sunak, and then it all comes tumbling down. The government loses legitimacy, and this government right now is even more lacking in legitimacy than the Tory government. So yeah, before I go, let's just look at the last couple of comments. Paul just says, "No, the Mrs. Carpenter blonde." Oh, Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah, I know who you mean. Let's just go back, look at her face because she's nicer to look at than me. Here we go. Let's skip past. Let's just let Sabrina Carpenter play us out.
Good.
Here we go. Where is it?
Land.
There she is. Yeah, she is not blinking. Wow. Maybe she's had some of the Jeffrey Epstein methamphetamine. Anyway, thanks for joining this. Thanks for joining this stream. I'm slowly getting the the production values as good as I can get them. And yeah. Join me again next Thursday at 1 p.m. And also, I'm going to do a public stream. Probably next Tuesday. I'll post about it in Patreon. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. Oh, by the way, I got some merch through for my tour. Look at this. It's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle, and it's got racist engraved on the side. I don't know if you can see that. Is it gonna focus it? Maybe if I cover my eyes. Yeah, it's gonna focus on that. Can you see it's got racist? It's got racist engraved on the side, so it's a racist dog whistle. And it's actually, I've had these designed so they can only be heard by racists. So you'll hear it's completely inaudible for you. Can only be heard by racists. Okay, thanks for listening. Goodbye. Bye-bye.